Hello, I'm Robin. Welcome to Bookspin. Think Blue Count 2 was first published in Galaxy magazine, February 1963. This story revolves around a solar sail ship, the kind of spacefaring technology that was previously introduced in The Lady Who Sailed the Sol, before the invention of FTL planoforming. And once more, we have a tale that focuses on some of the immense dangers and psychological toll that such long-distance space travel can have on humans, as we've seen previously in Scanners Live in Vain. This story is essentially a psychological drama between three people who are on board one of these spaceships. It amounts to quite a strange love triangle that turns ugly. So, the POV character in this one is a beautiful young girl called Visi, who is placed on board among 30,000 other passengers on a colony ship that has set off on a centuries-long interstellar voyage to settle a new world. While the passengers remain in cryosleep, the ship is controlled by the navigator, who's known as the sailor, and the ship is maintained by a team of robots. Now, as we learn from early on in the story, this type of voyage has quite a dangerous and disturbing precedent, as in the case of a previous sleeper ship known as the Old 22, which we learn about, in which something happened that caused the sailor and his passengers to become insane. Apparently, he had to wake up his passengers for some reason, and they lost their minds and turned on one another. The actual quote from the story is, "They did not get on well with one another, or else they got on too horribly well in the wrong way," which is a little bit cryptic, but in any case, disaster befell the ship and its passengers. The how and the why are not really explained. This is just alluded to at the start of the story as a kind of cautionary tale, the fate of which humanity does not want to risk repeating in this new expedition. So, in comes VC on this new interstellar voyage, and she has been chosen as a kind of reserve crew member, to be woken up only under special circumstances should she be required. And the reason she's been picked is kind of odd, right? She doesn't have any specific skills. Rather, her role is to act as a sort of adoptive daughter. According to the story, she has a daughter potential of 999.999, meaning that any normal adult could accept her as a daughter just after a few minutes of knowing her. The idea here is others will want to protect her, and in doing so, protect themselves. That's the theory. I guess this is some kind of group psychological coping mechanism for the isolation and the mental health pressures that come from this kind of voyage. It's pretty strange, but I haven't mentioned the really weird stuff yet. We learn at the start of the story, while the technicians are preparing this girl for her cryogenic suspension before the journey, that a peculiar device has been set up for her, which is telepathically linked to her. And this device is to be taken on board the ship and will allow her a means of protection from harm. and thus by extension protect the safety of everyone else on board. So this device is described as a kind of portable cube which has been imprinted with the personalities of a few space officers, and it's powered by the laminated brain of a mouse. Yeah, I told you this is weird, right? So we've got this kind of AI slash uploaded consciousness within this cube, which VC is telepathically linked to. And if she is to use it anytime, she can conjure up a manifestation of this AI. All she has to do is recite the lines from a short rhyme that she has unconsciously memorized. This is all just set up. This all happens right at the start of the story. The ship sets out, the journey begins. Then 326 years down the line, an accident befalls the ship. The navigator has died, and the phototonic mainsail has been ripped by a meteor. So 3 of the passengers get woken up, and that includes VC and 2 male passengers to work on repairs, while everyone else remains within their cryogenic sleep. And that's where the drama of this story starts to unfold. Now, I don't want to give too much away here, but a kind of romance develops between VC and one of these 2 men. But the other guy, who he's described in a very interesting way. Half of his face has been deformed as a consequence of his cryosleep, and thus he is supposed to be hideously ugly. He becomes increasingly jealous, and he turns out to be a bit of a psychopath, a sadist and a misogynist. Not someone you really want to be stuck in close quarters with on a starship. Now, it's kind of interesting, right? You've got this kind of really nasty character, and I do wonder, is this meant to be an essential part of his personality, or is there something about the nature of this voyage, perhaps even the accident that happened to him, which deformed his face, which has somehow transformed him into a monster? Or is he a monster? I don't want to spoil anything, right? But he is a threat in any case. Suffice to say, a very interesting drama unfolds, and the tension between these 3 characters builds up, and strange and unsettling things start to happen. So, it's a pretty good one, this. It's got a few of the ingredients that I really appreciate in a decent SF story. Dramatic tension, intriguing technology, some very weird technology, right? And some quite interesting world building that builds on other instrumentality of mankind themes and ideas. Now, the characters themselves are not particularly compelling or believable. I would say they're kind of more archetypes than proper characters, but there's only so much you can expect from a 1960s SF magazine story, right? But I do know from experience that Smith is capable of creating interesting characters. I just don't think this is necessarily the best example of this skill. But anyway, it's an entertaining little space opera, and it's definitely worth a read.